Hi guys, welcome to Reddit Rabbit Hole. Today, we are looking at the question, what's an unspoken rule that annoys you when people don't know about it? Please don't forget to like and subscribe to the video, so YouTube gods are pleased. Without further ado, let's get started. Don't touch my fucking wheelchair. I cannot tell you how many times I've been shopping in the grocery store, and someone has just rolled me out of their way instead of saying excuse me, or once, rolled me out of the store to find my mommy. I was 26. Or the people that walk side by side and take up a whole sidewalk and won't shift when people are trying to get by. Like, you don't need to march 5 people side by side down the sidewalk, it's not a parade. One of my friends is always driving his mom places, so when we call him he very often answers through his car's Bluetooth stereo. He's a very strict and nosy lady, and every time you would mention that we're on speaker she would get upset and think he was up to no good. So we came up with a simple system. Every time anybody in our friend group calls him, we always ask, "Can you hear me?" If he's alone, he'll just let us know, but if he's with his mom, he'll respond loud and clear. We then know not to mention anything she wouldn't like to hear. It's worked like a charm for the last 4 years. Edit. Some are confused about why he didn't just mention that we're on speaker in his car or announce his mom's presence. I did my best to explain it in the comments below, but here's my best TLDR. His mom wants to be in the know. If she was actually in the know, we'd never see him again. The system keeps her out of the know without her knowing she's out of the know. Longer explanation below. His mom has always been aware of our shenanigans, but optimistically assumed that he actively stayed out of trouble. However, she was still very nosy and wanted to know what we would get up to when adults weren't around. Of course, if we knew she was listening and on our phone conversations, we would filter what we say. She understood this too, and wanted to know what we would say if we didn't know she was listening. So if he announced her presence, she would get upset with him thinking that he was trying to be sneaky, which he was not. This is why we came up with this system. It keeps her blissfully unaware that we're censoring ourselves and keeps him out of trouble. We're all grown now and don't get up to much shenanigans these days, so it's not as useful as it once was, but all his calls always start with, "Can you hear me?" Purely out of habit. Edit 2. Can't believe I have to say this, but his mom wasn't some abusive, tyrannical monster. She's a well-put-together woman who has accomplished a lot and built her family's life from the ground up. She can be nosy, but not unreasonable. When I agreed with a comment below saying that she could sometimes be a nightmare, that didn't mean she was a bad mother. It just meant sometimes she would blow up on him about bad grades or if she found out he were doing something we shouldn't have been doing. Not abusive, just disappointed/angry because she wants the best for him. From the outside looking in, it might have seemed like a nightmare to me, comparatively because my mother is very easygoing, but in reality, she was just really hard on him sometimes. Albeit deserved for doing stupid shit. So quit it with all the comments hating on a woman you've never met. It's weird. We're all adults now. Yes, he lives his own life. Yes, he loves his mother. We all love her. And yes, he still drives her places when he's home from college because they enjoy each other's company. Sorry if this post turned sour quick. I was hoping to quickly share a funny story that might get buried, but here we are. When you're in the elevator with a group of people and get to the bottom, and it opens, and a handful of people lurch forward to get in. Now we are standing there, face to face in gridlock. During this moment, you say to yourself, how long until they realize they are the ones who have to move, or you are not going to get out of the elevator, ever. Then you see a look of surprise sweep over their face, and then they move back. One time, I was exiting a public bathroom stall, and a woman and her child were legit at the door when I opened it. Standing and waiting. Noses to door. I had to physically push through them. I was in shock. Never seen anything like that. Still baffles me to this day, 2.5 years later. I remember when a friend of mine brought his new girlfriend to my house. I introduced myself, asked if she wanted a drink, all the standard stuff. My friend goes upstairs to take a piss, and me and the new girlfriend are sat there for about 2 seconds before she blurts out. Awkward Herod. Bitch, it is now. Stand 2M back from the airport baggage carousel. If everyone does it, then enters that ring to grab their luggage and leave, then everyone can see their luggage as it comes and no one is jostling. It never occurred to me until I traveled in South Korea and they had a white line around the carousel that everyone stood on. It was remarkably efficient and I wish the rest of the world adopted it. I was flying recently and 2 flights were dumped on the same carousel, but they announced that my flight was going to be the one whose baggage would come out first. Still, everyone from the other flight is crowding the carousel. I see my bag and I'm just barging through a thick group of people to get to my bag, and I could barely even see the carousel itself from further back. I don't get it, it doesn't move fast enough that you could miss it, most are circles. Also, no one who crowds the belt ever quickly takes their bag S&D leaves. I used to have students confirm they all individually had the necessary lab data before they left for the evening. They would take a photo of their partner's tables and then hand me their phones. I'd never touch them. Hands-free, I'd say no. You scroll through your photos and show me the data. I'm not touching that. No way am I risking seeing something I don't want to. 100% this. Years ago, I left my tablet at a friend's for like half hour, and when I got back his roommate was laughing going through my photos. They accused me of overreacting when I went fucking apeshit. Had a bit of petty revenge when the same dude traded in my friend's games and my friend got pissy. I smugly told him he was overreacting. I have friends who I have to tell this to almost every time we go out somewhere. It doesn't matter where we are or what we are doing, they just don't get it. We will be in a quiet restaurant, and they will pull out their phone to show something on YouTube with sound. One of them in particular will watch the loudest, most obnoxious shit, like Call of Duty kill montages, while they are at someone's house and the rest of us are trying to watch a movie or have a conversation or eat dinner. I just cannot understand it. People who obviously don't travel a lot seem to have zero situational awareness in airports. I've been annoyed by, usually elderly, couples who block the door at the terminal. So once when I had some time to kill, I sat back and watched the doors. 1 or 2 steps in the doorway and stop dead, look for papers, search for their airline counter, whatever. In less than 2 hours it happened at least 15 times. Someone in our group was moving to another state. He asked us to come over and help load the moving van. Not a single thing was packed, no boxes, clothes still in the drawer, plates still in the cupboard and electronics still plugged into the wall. We had to move all of his crap into the van as is. I was angry after that and have never spoken to him again. If you ask someone for help, do your part and be prepared for when they show up. Respect people's right to say no. It's okay to ask someone for something, or to do something, or whatever. But if they say no, don't pester them or guilt trip them. People say this as if it's perfectly normal and sane, but I have no idea how it's even vaguely possible. I can maybe get to bed 15 minutes earlier than usual if I need to. But if I try to go to sleep 3 hours before my usual time, I just lie in bed for 3 hours not sleeping. If I need to adjust my sleep schedule, I either need to go forward by staying up super late for a few days, or do it slowly over the course of weeks or months. Wife can't remember left and right while giving driving directions. You'd think she'd be 50/50, just guessing, but, as a mathematician, I'd find it curious that she's closer to 85% incorrect. 12 years of data collection music. Can't carry a tune, can't play an instrument, can't even whistle. Not for lack of trying either, I just have no rhythm and can't hear pitch. I was watching a singer react to a song and she was able to know the note by hearing it, and I was just like, how? Edit. Obligatory while this blew up. For context, since I was a kid I was in music programs. I tried trumpet, clarinet, piano, guitar, drums, and choir. My mom really wanted me in this, but it just wasn't happening. My Christian school teacher gave me an A in our mandatory choir class if I promised to just mouth the words. For those saying practice, it's like practicing holding water in your hand. As fast as I learn it slips away. I still love music, I have just resigned myself to shower performances. Talk. I had a botched intubation that caused damage to my esophagus and vocal cords, so now I can't talk beyond a croak. I don't talk in public at all, because no one would be able to hear me, so my husband has to go everywhere with me to communicate for me. I don't feel like I have an existence of my own anymore, it's scary all the time. What if I need to scream? It's a good thing I was a megadork in high school and took miming classes. I communicate through extremely broad gestures, and that works pretty well most of the time. Casual sex. My brain will fall in love with anyone I am intimate with. I used to think there was something wrong with me for wanting my partner to be exclusive with me because modern society/hookup culture values emotional detachment, but now I know it's just not for me. It's okay to want to be loved and cared for. It's a good thing. Catch those feelings. Math, of any kind. I'm 36 and I've got a second grade math education. I passed by the skin of my teeth in school so I could graduate. Bro, look into prosopagnosia. It explained so many difficulties I had growing up. I realized something was wrong when a random person walked up to me in school and started talking to me, and I didn't realize it was my best friend of 6 years. It turns out this whole time I had been recognizing them based on their backpack, and today they had been using a different one. When I was a kid at Disney World, a woman tried to hold my hand and have me follow her. She was black and I'm white. When she looked down at me confused as to why her kid was pulling away, she saw my face and had the most humiliated look I've ever seen. She then sheepishly walked over to her son, who was a couple feet away, and they both speed walked away. I feel like I should have hugged her. I totally believe you. I've been married for about the same time, and just a few years ago, I almost did the same thing in the supermarket. My actual wife showed up just in time to avoid embarrassment. Once, in a store, some strangers started speaking to me out of the blue. I cut the conversation short and got away from the crazy man. Later I found out he was my cousin I had dinner with the night before. I use voices. My wife caught on when we'd walk past a movie poster, and she'd say, "Harrison Ford is in this one," and I'd be scanning the written part to see which one she's talking about. But we'd watch cartoons and I'd say, "Oh, neat, that's LeVar Burton," and she'd look at me like I was crazy. I'm bad enough at faces that I don't recognize friends and family routinely, let alone actors. This made me super confused going somewhere once where a friend put on a wig en route without me seeing. I also recently was watching one of the more recent Frosty the Snowman movies and recognized that one of the voice actors and that also voiced the announcer of a computer game that I played in the 90s. This was apparently weird. And it was Tom Kenny in Star Warped from 1997. I feel like I should go anon for this, but I have trouble recognizing my own kids sometimes. My daughter in particular, if I don't see what she's wearing when we leave the house, I'll struggle. Scout meetings, where all the girls are wearing the same thing, can be challenging. You know when you're swimming and when you go down in the water and when you come up. I see people that can just open their eyes as if they don't have water on their faces. I can't do that. I have to wipe off all the water on me face before I can open my eyes. Else it stings, and it is really uncomfortable. Go to bed early. I have a very unusual sleep schedule due to work, and if I need to be up at a particular time outside that schedule, I often get advice like, just go to bed early so you can wake up. Meanwhile, I can't stick to one for more than 2 weeks. Edit, since a lot of people commented this. Might be ADHD, might not be ADHD. Runs in the family and some stuff deaf. If it's never been checked, I just roll with it. Same here, I have a hard time keeping hobbies. I'll get right into them to start and have a good time doing it for a couple of weeks or months, then my interest wanes or just dies. It's very frustrating. Recognize faces with ease. Bro look into prosopagnosia. It explained so many difficulties I had growing up. I realized something was wrong when a random person walked up to me in school and started talking to me, and I didn't realize it was my best friend of 6 years. It turns out this whole time I had been recognizing them based on their backpack, and today they had been using a different one. Literally, there was about to be a surge, but once the ladies heard this hero's "I'm not fucking around" voice, they heeded his command. It was like air had been let out of a balloon. We all calmly left the train, one by one, like civilized people in a civilized society. The grannies looked on, momentarily defeated. I'll never forget how hilarious and triumphant that moment felt. One of my favorite NYC memories ever. Time for me, 22F, to tell you all about my worst plane ride ever. It was 5 a.m. I was on the aisle seat, and a middle-aged dude was seated on the window seat. There was one empty seat between us because I was exhausted. It was 5 a.m. and I hadn't slept all night. I was also leaving my family for God knows how long. During takeoff he started talking to me. Just regular small talk, which I didn't mind too much. Shortly after that he slept. And it came breakfast time. At that moment I did the worst thing I could possibly do. I woke him up. From that point he kept on babbling about God knows what. I was just humming and ahhing. That dude could not take a hint. So I put my earphones on, but he kept talking and calling for attention. So I pretended to sleep, and then he slowly started to shut up. I kind of felt sorry because I thought I was a little mean, but I really couldn't take it. He eventually fell back asleep. Then we landed and I felt like he was doing everything possible to stay close to me. I thought I was overreacting but still put a few people between us in the line to get out of the plane so that he'll get out first. I'd even said bye so that he wouldn't approach me again. On my way to the customs, I noticed him waiting for me. Like, come on, either I'm extremely paranoid and this is normal, or he's just really weird and unaware that what he does is not the norm. I chose that moment to buy my train ticket in hopes that he would give up, but no, he was still there. So I walked really fast on those flat escalator things to pass him. He caught up at the luggage spot, his came before mine, and he was still not going, so I went, "I'll be fine. I don't have much, you can go, you'll miss the bus or train." So one of the largest distractions we can have is other people. This is a common sales tactic and is even featured in How to Win Friends and Influence People. It basically states that people love to hear their own name, so use it often. This is likely true, but so many salespeople use this tactic to the point where we subconsciously start to hate it the more it is practiced on us. This is my humble opinion anyway. I think it could still potentially work by saying it a few times in an extended conversation, but not in the first 30 seconds of meeting them. Whether for sales or memorization, yep, same here. I dread people saying, "Aren't you going to introduce us?" No, actually, I may have known these people for years and could tell you all sorts of things about them, but to remember their names, I'll need to go check my phone. It has freaked me out when some people are really good with names, though. I spoke to a guy once while out celebrating my birthday years ago. Bumped into him a few times since in the same bar, but not really spoken. Over 2 years later, he is being interviewed for a job at my place, would be my manager in fact, and they invite all the candidates to lunch with the team to see how they fit. Straight away he recognizes me, remembers my name, and starts asking me about stuff I'd mentioned on my birthday. Bumped into him again recently. He still remembered my name. Haven't got a clue what his is, and can't really ask now. I work medical field. Reps in my field for different medical companies I envy greatly, as their jobs are basically to socialize. They show up to take you out to lunch/dinner, paid for by the company, and basically ask what they can do/order for you. They're not salesmen giving corny pitches, since we are pros and we know the products for the most part already. Their job is to take you out and make you feel important. Basically, they travel around and socialize on the company's dime. But the key is making them us feel special. So those reps can meet someone once, and then 5 years later, "Hey, Jerry, how's Susan and the 3 little kids doing?" I can't remember names/faces for shit, so I would suck at that job. My old company owner knew every single employee in his company. There were well over 500 of us. He would always send birthday, sympathy, congrats on the wedding/baby/graduation/etc. cards and stuff, and when he saw you, he'd with interest ask about what was going on in your life. He saw me literally 2 or 3 times a year, but would always ask about my family, how daughter's doing in, and her correct grade, and if husband likes his new job, and if we got to go camping that year, and if my brother had any new interesting bike projects. My brother, who we remembered from our company picnics, and he somehow remembers he works as a bicycle mechanic. Dude remembers everything like that about all his employees. And he genuinely cares! Nicest man in the world for more reasons than I can go into here. I cried when he retired, and I miss that dude. I wish him true happiness. Wear earbuds. And here I thought my ears were just deformed or something. I see people walking around, doing activities. Heck, my teens do chores with them in. All the bending, jostling, turning of the head, and they stay in their ears. I can't move or they'll fall out. Hell, they'll fall out in a few minutes, even without moving. I've tried several different kinds over the years, have concluded my ears are just not normal, and gave up on the earbud lifestyle. Keep a hobby. Everyone I know has at least one hobby, if not multiple. Sometimes a lifelong passion. I got us inside a rest stop to warm up a bit, and every muscle in my body hurt. Less than an hour and we were in serious danger from cold. Never get into a vehicle if someone is trying to kidnap you. If you can help it, it's better to fight and scream as much as you can, because once you get in the vehicle, your chances of survival go down significantly. Me of the few occasions where you should absolutely fight a gun or knife, assuming you can't run away. Better to get stabbed or even shot at a place you might receive treatment than wind up unharmed at a second location, where worse things likely await. If you end up in the car and can reach the steering wheel, yank that bitch and crash the car. You're more likely to survive the crash than a second location. If you can finesse the seatbelts just before as well, you can stack the deck in your favor. About a year ago, there were several attempted kidnappings in my town. 2 were friends of mine, but separate occasions. He had an empty child's seat in the back and began the interaction by asking for directions. Trust no one and fight like hell to not be put in the car. Thankfully, this guy was not very good at kidnapping. It could have been worse. Worked in a CNC machine shop, I was told the top 3 rules were: know where the emergency stop button is on every machine. If you wouldn't touch it with your dick, don't touch it with your finger. If something falls, it hits the floor. Don't try to catch anything falling. When walking down the street with a one-shoulder bag, keep it on the building side of your body, not the side on which people pass you. It makes the bag harder to snatch. Thank you everyone for watching. Please like and subscribe to make YouTube gods happy. See you guys in another video.